Do you believe in aliens? Most people think that if there was intelligent life out there in the universe, they would have visited us by now. But what if that life already has visited and we just didn't know it yet? There could be extraterrestrials here living among us this entire time and we don't even know it. Get your tinfoil hats ready, guys, as we learn how to avoid having our head be served on a plate. That doesn't make much sense, but thanks for watching though, I appreciate it. Let's go. Not using a VPN is basically taking a shower at Times Square without taking cover. Sounds enticing? Not really. With private internet access, you take back complete ownership over your data. This service hides your IP address, does not store any of your data, and does not carry logs of your activity, which has been proven by third-party audits, as well as multiple times in court. Meaning anyone with ill intentions trying to steal or acquire your data has zero chance. You basically preemptively beat anyone trying to use your internet activity against you. And you know they would succeed, don't you? Now, having beaten your opponents plotting your downfall for $2 a month, you also gain the ability to protect any other device accessing the internet in your household. You basically checkmate your opponents at this point, but you'll also be getting more online content by now being able to switch regions at will, technically teleporting yourselves across the world to find content that has been blocked otherwise. All of this works on all platforms, from Windows to Mac, from Android to iOS. $2 a month for peace of mind and some extra benefits to make online content more accessible. Sounds good? It gets better. Signing up is completely risk-free as there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. Not happy? Cancel your subscription after 29 days and get back your money. Check out our custom link in the description to get your exclusive deal today. Better be safe than sorry. Thanks for PIA for sponsoring this video. And now back to beating demons again. Our film opens with a spaceship crash landing in the middle of the Nevada desert. Heh, no subtlety here. This is clearly a movie about alien invaders right off the bat. In the distance, a car pulls up containing a man and woman, our main characters. Well, sort of. You'll see what we mean soon enough. They're excited about getting their payday for something vague and illegal, and are already planning their after party at the motel as the woman takes a shovel from the car and heads out into the wasteland. She walks very awkwardly and for a very long time. Maybe she's counting her paces to buried goods, or maybe she's just having trouble walking over the terrain in high heels. Whatever the case may be, she eventually finds a restricted area warning sign put in place by the US military to keep people out of the desert, threatening containment of any people and property on it. She doesn't heed this cautionary signal, however, and instead is just excited that she's on the right track as she backs up against it to figure out the correct distance to her hidden treasure and starts digging. You know, with the sign being literally the only thing visible in this desert though, I'm not sure why she would even have to count her steps to get to it in the first place, when she could have just seen it from a distance. And for that matter, I don't know why her ride had to park so far away and make her walk so tediously to it. Oh well, she's here now. Let's see what she's dug up. It's a small metal box which opens to reveal several stacks of cash. Seems they hit the jackpot on their latest crime spree and hid it out here for safekeeping until the heat died down. She was just about to get away with it too, but before she could happily leave with the gathered goods, the ground shakes and a poorly rendered CGI UFO appears in the distance. From it beams down an even cheaper rendition of a spaceman. The woman stands and stares in disbelief, trying to figure out where this movie's budget actually went, before the alien figure flashes and becomes an identical clone of her. This dumbfounds the poor girl even more as she continues to gawk and make strange expressions. The alien clone, named Kara after the woman it's imitating, now starts charging a ball of energy in its hands. Guess this alien is a member of the Saiyan race. And instead of running, screaming for help, or doing anything at all, the woman just continues to look on in confusion, as her clone decimates her body, Dr. Manhattan style. Well, not much she could have done to survive this situation. Hard to face a threat that can obliterate you from a distance with a wave of its hands. She could have attempted communication and possibly proved she wasn't a threat, but that likely wouldn't have worked in this particular situation. Her only other real option is to not be out in restricted space in the first place. Maybe listen to those warning signs next time. They are there for a reason. So with our original main character gone, the alien version of her mimicking her body grabs the metal container and meets up with the man. It must have the woman's memories as well in order to know to do this, since she was so far from the vehicle, and I can't imagine an alien invader would have known to grab the random metal box its victim was transporting. The alien woman sits and stares silently in the man's car. He's a little suspicious of his partner's newfound behavior, but ultimately ignores it and drives them back to town. At the motel, the man is counting the money while Kara gets used to her newly acquired body, doing lots of weird stretches and clothing examinations. And this goes on for, quite some time. Finally, the man has had enough and asks what her problem is, claiming she's acting strange ever since the drop-off. After a slight staring contest, Kara reaches for a nearby knife, and the man attempts to wrestle it away from her. Yes, try to force the knife away instead of grabbing one of the multitude of guns sitting around you in the exact same frame. Genius. The two continue their wrestling on the bed. And no, that's not a euphemism for anything. Eventually though, Kara's strength proves too much for the man and she gets the upper hand, using the knife to end this man's whole career by shish kebab-ing his skull. This leads to her eventually entire head with the weapon before feasting on his brains. We now cut over to a bar where a man plays pool, another orders a drink from the barkeep, and a woman is off to the side playing with a virtual reality headset. Despite the fact that it's not being plugged into anything and her not using any sort of controllers for it or any sort of sensors or anything, she continuously swats at the air like she's accomplishing something. I guess it's been a few days since the motel massacre, since the people at the counter are talking about a psycho killer that is murdering people and the bartender thinks it's people going mad from polluted mining water, while the patron believes it's aliens. Soon after this conversation, Kara makes her way inside and has a seat, garnering the attention of the locals. She plays hard to get with the VR woman hitting on her, shooing them away. Next, the drunk biker man shoots his shot with some awful innuendos, and in response, Kara takes a knife and runs it through. Even though in reality this would just hurt a lot and you'd still be alive, at least until you bleed to death, the man is instantly ended. But hey, maybe he just passed out from the pain. Somehow no one in the place noticed or heard this attack and now just assumed that corpse is a knocked out drunk. Lucky for our ET friend. Kara now meets up with the VR headset chick from before outside of the bathrooms. She's staring up close and observing the woman when suddenly her Snapchat filter activates. And because of this, she has to witness immediately. She next returns to the bar where the people there are only just now realizing that the passed out drunk man is actually a drunk man. And Kara now finishes the pool player with a stick through the which the bartender doesn't take kindly to, so he pulls out his. Unfortunately, the man has no clue how guns work, and instead of attempting to shoot it from a safe distance, walks right up to the alien woman so that she can shove him to the ground and knock him unconscious. Guess he was planning on swinging it like a club or something, that or he was out of ammo. Regardless, that was quite the first encounter. Let's take a break from all this madness and look back at events so far. As mentioned before, listen to warning signs. That rings true for metaphorical ones, but is extra crucial for literal ones sitting right in front of you. Sure, you likely won't have an alien copy your body before making your atoms, but there could still be actual dangers out there, or you could be by the military for trespassing. Even if you survive, you could face jail time and fines. Just don't take the risk. We never learn how our main two characters got the money in the first place, but there had to be a better hiding spot than in a restricted area. As for being in the position of the man driving the car, besides being more suspicious and checking on our partner's behavior sooner, we should have had one of the multitude of weapons in that motel actually ready to go. He was clearly suspicious of her for a while and shouldn't have left weapons out within her reach and should have been armed himself in case the worst happens. Better to have it and not need it and all that. Once the truth was revealed, however, there was little he could do. Seems she has above average strength, can charge a laser beam, and we don't even know how effective a bullet would be against them. But I'd at least try that, instead of simply wrestling and taking a knife to the. For all the people in the bar, there wasn't much they could have done. They all got ambushed and one by one. So besides being more observant, the only thing that would have really helped them there is that bartender actually knowing how to use his gun. It's a ranged weapon, you don't need to get within grabbing distance of your target to attack them. The barkeep wakes up in a hospital of sorts with a bandage on his head. And for some reason, the front of his head has blood, even though he clearly only banged the back of it when getting injured. Silly me, shouldn't be expecting a movie of this caliber to worry about something like continuity in the story. His nurse arrives to check on him and is acting very strange, speaking in a weird cadence, using odd terms for things, and even her body language is a bit off. The only thing weirder than her is his roommate, a crazed young man who speaks in gibberish nonsense and warns him of aliens listening in on their conversations. Normally this would be something to just ignore, but we the audience know that what he speaks is actually true. And if he is to be believed, both of them have been abducted by aliens in order to treat their brains for future consumption. This would check out with the nurse's very odd behavior and mannerisms and her attention to caring for the bartender's head and brain specifically. I suppose they're still on Earth, but in a hospital taken over and run by aliens disguised as regular people. So of course they need to get out of there as soon as possible. But the barkeep doesn't believe any of this is real and just assumes he's in an actual hospital surrounded by... Can't say I blame him, but sometimes you have to notice that the weird stuff going on around you is an indication to get out while you still can. He doesn't realize this until it's too late. Well, too late for his roommate at least, as the nurse injects him with some mystery green fluid that, after some serious involuntary, causes his head to literally... I thought only seeing the healthcare bill would be enough to blow your mind. As the bartender runs away, the nurse scoops up some of the roommate's and adds it as toppings to her pizza. Gross. Thanks for the disgusting imagery, movie. Elsewhere, Kara is discovered by a random woman we've seen around town, mostly in the background, jumping around in spring shoes. A bit odd to say the least, but not too strange to mention before now. She reveals to the alien woman that she saw camera footage from the bar and knows she did the there and at the motel. However, she won't turn the alien in because those were bad people that she is happy to be rid of. She next offers Kara a path to lead out of town to avoid getting caught. And I guess the alien spares her as thanks for the assistance because she doesn't attempt to but instead follows the directions given. At the end of the road she was told about is a rundown building. Inside, some well-dressed people are enjoying music and watching a half-woman dancing inside a metal cage-like structure. On either side of them are heads with their exposed for easy access. Okay, starting to think these aren't ordinary people. And that's right, as it's soon revealed to us and Kara that these are in fact other aliens that have already landed and acclimated to human culture, indulging in fine music, seductive dancing, and copious amounts of juicy. We don't learn much more though. Nothing about how long they have been here, why, or how many there are. If they need brains, or just enjoy them. How they disguise as humans, and if they are even able to change back at all, since they stay in human form even while only in the company of other extraterrestrials. I mean, if Kara just arrived alone and is doing this sloppy of a job, hiding her killings and feedings, as well as that hospital that isn't being subtle with its ill intent at all, how have they not been caught by now? That is, unless the majority of the people who run society are actually aliens who are in on it. But if that's the case, would there even be enough humans to go around for them all? I don't know. Sorry. We shouldn't be putting so much thought and effort into overthinking a plot to a movie like this. Kara steps out for some fresh air and to enjoy the night sky. When she returns inside, however, it appears that the girl who gave her directions before has followed her and is now captured and about to be... At least I think that's what's being hinted at. There is zero dialogue here from any of the characters, and it's really difficult to read their intentions with all the terrible acting. But from what we can gather, Kara is not happy about her friend about to be turned into food, and the fancy alien seems disappointed in this. And the scene just ends, without any further explanation for what was going on or happening. Not sure where any of the other characters went now, or even what happened that night, as the film just suddenly cuts to the next morning. We see that girl again, who I really wish had a name of some kind to describe her more easily, waking up alone in the middle of nowhere. Guess this means the alien spared her and just dumped her out in the middle of a field. Well, while she's trying to figure out where she is and what's going on, let's take a look back at things we could have done differently. As stated with the barkeep, he should have been paying more attention to his surroundings. It was very clear that something was not right with his nurse, roommate, or surroundings from the start. We can cut him some slack since he suffered some brain damage during his altercation with Kara. But he has to be completely brain dead to not see the major red flags before his neighbor got blown up by the brain-munching head nurse. Guess he just should be thankful it wasn't him, and that he was able to escape. Well, hopefully he was. Spoiler alert, we never see him, that hospital, or the nurse again. That part of the movie is over and never expanded upon. But he seemed to have gotten out while he could, and would probably end up in a real psychiatric hospital if he shares what he witnessed, so he probably just went back to an ordinary life. As for Kara and the weird girl, well, I'm not sure what to say about them. I don't know why that girl is okay with murder, alien, or otherwise being the cause, or how she knew of the alien hideout. Could be she didn't know it was run by extraterrestrials and only found out the hard way when she followed Kara. But to that end, why did she follow the alien woman to begin with? Not sure what she was hoping to gain from that. Shouldn't be following known murderers who are on the run to abandoned buildings. She's lucky Kara actually appreciates her and wants to help keep her alive. Speaking of Kara, if she's here just for brains, she should be going about things in a much more secretive way to cover her tracks and avoid detection. If she's here for a takeover, she should just end every person she sees immediately and not play silly games. And if she's here for the meetup with other aliens, well, why did she need directions from a local human girl? And how did she get the barkeep to the alien-run hospital? Again, not much of this movie makes sense, and we're probably putting more thought into it here than anyone who actually worked on this movie did. But as an alien invader, she should have some sort of plan or goal. And we still don't know exactly what that is for herself or the rest of her race. Alright, let's see how this magnum opus ends. After wandering a bit in the wilderness, the young woman comes across an abandoned factory, and with nowhere else to go, she has a look what's inside. After several horrendously boring minutes of watching a goth girl just wander around a deserted, dilapidated factory aimlessly, she finally finds someone. A person with a gas mask and flamethrower, and no, unfortunately that's not the pyro from Team Fortress 2. After seeing this dude randomly firing off flames and marching off, she decides it's a good idea to follow him inside another part of the building. I get it, he's the only other soul we've seen in the area, but it's still a bit risky to be following an armed and masked man, in the middle of who knows where, while alone and unarmed ourselves. She heads inside after him, with the door closing and locking behind her. Inside, she finds multiple severed heads with tools for extracting the juicy bits from within them, as well as the man sitting there without his mask on anymore. He looks like a standard human for the most part, but has dark red eyes and speaks through telepathy. Apparently he's an alien too. However, he seems different than the ones we have seen before. He examines the girl and is confused as to why he's not able to smell her, as apparently all humans give off a distinct scent. He's also confused why she's not responding to him but assumes she's a defective human and does some weird alien scanning technique to get a better read on her. However, he's interrupted by Kara entering the room now. Guess that means the door wasn't locked after all. In any case, Kara is about to charge another death beam to protect her little human friend, but this new alien species is able to counteract her powers with a flick of his own wrist. Not sure how any of their powers work, but what's important is that his race is able to interrupt Kara's. He now gloats about the fact that he will feast on this feeble, pathetic human, going on to explain that his race has been among us since Earthlings were single-cell amoeba. But wait, his race is very different from Kara's as we have seen so far. So that means there are two alien races, both invading and fighting for control over Earth, and both. What are the odds of that? And that neither have been exposed so far. Well, if that news wasn't shocking enough, it turns out there are actually 3 different alien races on Earth. As the goth girl reveals, she is actually an alien as well. Different from his own species, of course, as this explains why he wasn't able to recognize her, but also very different from Kara's. However, she's also able to perform a death ball of her own and vaporizes the Martian man despite his attempted interference. So now Alien Race 1 and Alien Race 3 team up to rid the Earth of Alien Race 2. At least, that's what's implied. The movie just kind of ends, with 2 alien women standing around the alien man's head on a pike. Okay, well, not really much to go over with that ending there, but it's a decent if not simple lesson, I suppose. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Seems to truly beat this threat, we only have to be able to outclass a slightly above average strength human that carries a knife. Well, that and one that can create a ball of energy that evaporates our very being. Guess it would be better to just avoid them if possible, since we never get to see if conventional weapons would even affect them. More importantly though, I think the real threat to avoid here is terrible films that don't know how to tell an actual story. Do your research, make sure the movies you watch are worth your time, and stay safe from terrible acting out there, folks. Sometimes a film is so bad it's good. and other times, it's just bad. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Binge another one and peace out.